to today's training. I'm excited about sharing something that I think a lot of people avoid. And today we're going to be talking about really the things that suck the life out of us from a business perspective, and why it sucks the life out of our business too, honestly. So, but it'll be done with love. I always approach things that are difficult to hear with that sense of, hey, if you don't recognize that these are issues, you can't fix them. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is really kind of some tough love, but with love, so that you get to a better place in your life, in your business. That's always my end goal. So as you guys are coming in, where are you in the world? I'm still in Virginia. We're not quite sure. I think we may just stay. It's so quiet and the view is amazing. We're figuring it out, but for now we're still in Virginia. So where is everyone else? I see Paul is in the house. Good morning, Paul. Glad to have you. It's always nice to see you. Honestly, you're here most every Monday, and it's always great to see your face in the comments. Like all of the shows that we do giveaways, and today is no different. We're going to be giving away two of one of my, I call them mini courses. They're designed for a specific outcome. And today we're giving away two courses. The name of the course is Quick and Easy Ways to Make Social Media Content for Non-Designers. So if you are a non-designer, I know I need social media content, but that's not my jam. I'm not super good at designing this stuff. Then this will be a great course for you. You will get so much value out of it. The content is just like quick and easy tools that help you create content. And there's a lot of stuff too that is in that little course that you don't have to create. In other words, it's created for you. Hint, hint. How do you win? Well, we have a few ways that we enter you into what we call the Wheel of Wow. One way is share your aha moments. Now, an aha moment is and use the hashtag aha when you pop these in down under. It's like, okay, wow. You know how you take that breath and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. That's so good. So that's an aha moment. Or if you knew it, but you needed to hear it again in the moment, that's an aha moment. Just make sure you use the hashtag aha, because that's how we pick up the comments and enter them into the Wheel of Wow. Okay. You can tag someone that you know is potentially struggling in their business and needs to figure out what's broke, because we're going to be talking about some of those things today. So tagging someone, sprinkling it out. That's my friend Molly Mahoney's word. She uses the word sprinkle instead of share. We're not supposed to gamify this whole social media thing. I don't even know. But anyway, sprinkle it out into the world, and we'll get as many people in here as we can. And then ask questions. We love the questions. I will, since I'm doing the training today, we don't have a special guest. I will try to answer the questions as we go. And if I don't get to them as we go, I will certainly circle back at the end of today's show. Or if you're watching on the replay, you ask later, we do monitor them. We'll make sure your questions get answered. Okay. If you don't want to sit here and take notes, that's okay. We got you. We got you covered. So all you have to do, if you would like notes from today's show, is comment down under notes, and we'll make sure you guys get the notes for today's show. I see we've already got one saying, I need the notes. All right, there you go. Excellent. Perfect. All right. So like I said before, we're going to be talking about 7 reasons your business sucks the life out of you. And I just want to say real quick, I said it at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. Everything I share with you today is mostly just from a reflection perspective. And I want you to identify if these are your problems for you. Okay. Feel free to share in the comment area, whatever you are led to share. You know, if you're like, I have this problem, I promise you, you are not alone. Um, all of these problems I've experienced in my various businesses at some point in time. And sometimes I have to reel myself in because I see it. I see the issue very early on, and I'm like, stop, got to fix that. You can't fix what you don't know is broken. And lots of times I feel like we as entrepreneurs are chasing ourselves around the proverbial tree, you know, chasing our tails, if you will, because we don't stop sometimes long enough to identify some of the things that are broke or wrong or potential problems in our business. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. And again, I just want you to look at this from a self-reflection perspective. And I'm going to ask a quick question. Do you ever sometimes wake up in the morning, look yourself at yourself in the mirror and say, you know, really thought my business would be further along than it is right now? I want you to sit with that just for a minute. Now, that when I am saying that, I'm not trying to say that in the context of, you know, a negative thing. Although I'm sure that feeling is like, yes, I thought that I would be further along than I am right now. And like I say, this isn't to try to like make you feel bad. This is about lifting you up out of that and figuring out what the heck is going on so that you are no longer there. So that when you wake up in the morning, you're fired up, you're ready to roll. You are not going to be stuck in your business anymore. And like I say, I know a lot of these things are going to feel a little negative to you because when you start to like dig at the root of the problem, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to face the things. But if you don't face them and you don't realize what's broken, then it's very hard to fix. And you're just going to be on this endless cycle of, chasing the same things. So anyway, just wanted to kind of give clarity on this. I definitely don't want you to leave today's training feeling bad or negative. I want you to feel empowered. I want you to feel like whatever the issues that you see, if you self-identify with, you're like, I've got that problem. Feel free to share that. In fact, I would love it if you do, because I feel like there's so many people who feel like they're out there and they're all on their own and they think they're the only ones with these problems. So please, please, please step up and let's talk about these things openly, honestly, and again, from a fixed perspective. How do you solve these problems? So I'm going to give you a couple of stats. You know, I love the stats, and I find that this is an interesting one and a sad one, and one that annoys me to no end, to know that 90% of online business startups end in failure within the first 120 days. People throw in the towel. Now, if you have had a business more than 120 days, an online business, pat yourself on the back. Regardless of whether or not you feel like you're where you want to be at this point in time, there's a lot of people who start businesses and they just throw in the towel very early on. So I think that's an interesting stat. And the highest failure rate occurs in the information industry. Now, if you think about it, that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, a lot of us we have knowledge, we have expertise, we're trying to share the things that we know, monetize the things that we know, but it's very crowded out there today. There's a lot of very similar business models, a lot of people selling the similar style of knowledge bases, so it doesn't surprise me. It's like 43% of, or more than that in the information industry. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. It's so rich. The knowledge that we have, the opportunity to sell what we know is so rich, but enter the problem is there's core things in our businesses that we don't have in place. And that's usually why people fail versus succeed in their online business model. So I'm going to go through 7 things. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about them in some detail. And more importantly, if you have this problem, is there a fix for it? And the short answer is absolutely. Anything that's broke can be fixed. So, especially in the connotation of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So, the first problem that I see, and I have been doing, I call them momentum calls with people who are interested in my new program, Authority Creator. And I've had this conversation with absolutely every person so far, is their revenue model doesn't support the financial goal that they have. Now, what does that mean? It means that if that whatever it is that they're selling doesn't match up or is not in alignment with what they want to make, if even established a financial goal, okay? In some cases, and I would love it if you tell me, I'd love to know in the comment area down under, what is your financial goal? And it can be broke down by month, it could be broke down by year, but do you know what it is? Do you have a financial goal? It's it's impossible. I will say it. It's not very difficult. It is impossible to get somewhere if you don't know where you're going. So, question to you is, do you have a financial goal? The gold standard kind of for most people that I've talked to is like, they just like to get to 10K months. So that's why I say it's the gold standard. So my question to you is, after you answer the question, do you have a financial goal, is what you're selling going to realistically get you to that financial goal? So what I mean by that is, it depends on what you're selling, and feel free to share what you're selling. I would love to kind of break this down and help you break it down. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Now, in some business models, people have a variety of things that they sell. And in some business models, they actually have what's called an ascension model, where it takes people from free to low cost, all up, basically up a stair step of different types of products or services. And each step is at a higher ticket price. And some businesses have that in place, some don't. Some are focusing on, low ticket things, thinking that their person will not spend big money with them. I see this a lot, where there's a lot of folks who say, yep, my buyer won't spend $5,000 with me. So I need to create all these low ticket things. And so that creates this vicious cycle of not, again, creating enough revenue that's going to drive results. So let's take a look at those low ticket things. If you're focused on something that's low ticket, and like you have a $47 product, we're just for example purposes, you're going to need to sell 213 of those roughly on a monthly basis to get to 10K. Now, can you do this? Yes, but let me break it down, the reality of it for you. The reality of it is that if you don't have a community of people to sell into, like if you don't have an email list that's substantial, if you don't have a social media community that's sizable, if you don't have a traffic source that is big enough to support 213 sales on a monthly basis, keep that in mind. Even if you do it one time, you have to do it monthly, which means you have to have more people in your ecosystem every month in order to support that financial goal. It's very difficult to maintain. Let's just say you don't have a big social following, you don't have a big email list. Now what? Now you got a real problem, because you have to pay for your person. Let's say you can't afford to pay for your person, which puts you right back into a really ugly boat because you're like, okay, I don't have a big community. I don't have an email list. You keep going down the list of things you don't have. And it makes it very, very difficult. And I see business owners who struggle with this all the time, where they can't sell enough of their thing to meet their financial goal. And then again, this is just a rough, an example. It could be whatever it is, but you need to do your math. Your money math has to work. So let's go back to this and look at it through the lens of, okay, if I don't have those things and I don't have the money, okay, now I've got a real problem. But let's say you do have money. You're like, okay, I've got some money. I'm going to buy my customers. And you can do that, but the money math really doesn't work for that either. Let's say, for example, you have a $47 membership and you want to get 213 new people into your membership every month, thinking, wow, that's recurring revenue. It'll happen month over month over month. But the reality is that the customer acquisition cost for that person is probably going to be more than the stick rate. The stick rate for a membership is about 4 months. So if you do 4 times 47, just round it up, that's $200. Your person is going to probably cost about $200 to acquire that customer. So you have, it goes back to, oh my gosh, this is broke, right? So if you kind of have a model like this, then that may be why you're not creating the revenue that you want. And it could be a variety of things. It could be, that you don't have a community to sell into. You're not, you don't have money to spend, whatever the thing is. But if this is your problem, you have to shift this dynamic. If you're selling low ticket things and you're not meeting your revenue goal, then what is an alternative to that? Well, one alternative is to not necessarily stop your low ticket things, because I think there is a place for low ticket things, but I call it, you need a mid-tier program, product, something, so that you don't have to stress so hard. You can always circle back and build low ticket things later if you want to. But the reality is it only takes 2 $5,000 sales to get to 10K months. That sounds a lot more doable, right? I mean, raise your hand if you agree. Like 2 things at $5,000 or 2 buyers at 5,000. Yeah. Even if you don't have a big list or a big social media community, 2 people is a lot more realistic, even at a higher ticket point, than trying to sell or find 213 people to buy a $47 product, right? Hand up. That's why your mid-tier program is your bread and butter. Okay. So it's why you build out your product or your service or whatever it is at this price point, or a price point that's a higher ticket. It could be anything. It could be something that's, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000. Obviously, if you're $10,000, if you got a $10,000 package, you only need one person to say yes to that a month to meet that. I'll call it the gold standard of 10K a month. So again, if you're not getting to a place where your business is creating that kind of revenue consistently, now this is the key, consistently, because if you have months where it's like, okay, $1,000 or $5,000, or I've got 7 this month, but you're not consistently meeting those 10K months, then again, what are you selling that, or what could you sell that is going to create 10K months on repetition, where you can consistently create that? Because this is really the run rate that I believe is so powerful for most business owners. If they can get to $10,000 a month, then they can get to $100,000 a month. And you may be thinking to yourself, what? Yeah, seriously. Once you master getting consistent 10K months, then all you have to do is scale it. You're like, what? Yeah. So if you need 2 to get to 10 at a 5K run rate, do the math. You just have to sell more of the same thing to more people. It sounds complicated, but it's seriously, if you can consistently do it and get to those 10K months, then you've got a magic formula for it. You have a roadmap. It's just follow a rinse and repeat model. And I think this is one of the most broken things that I see in a lot of businesses, where the financial goal that they have and the things that they're selling are not matchy. They do not match up. And it's going to be a very difficult to have a run rate of a $10,000 month when the traffic necessary for things that are going to be a lower ticket thing is is very difficult for most business owners to sustain. Now, I have friends that have memberships that are in, different. I've run several. I've got 2 memberships myself, but you really have to have a big community to sell into those. To sell into in order for those low ticket things to work consistently for you. And even then, you have to be bringing new people into your ecosystem all the time. It is a rat race. It is a difficult thing to consistently make 10K a month with low ticket things. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Is it impossible? No, and it's very possible for some, depending on the things that they have in their ecosystem, in the mix, if you will. So brokenness number 1 is, what's your financial goal, and does the things that you're selling get you there? If it doesn't, there is a fix for it. You just have to figure out what is it that you can sell that is going to make it easier for you to get to those 10,000 months. And by the way, I just want to let you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't. I'm doing a webinar Thursday. There's 2 time blocks, and it's on exactly this topic: how to go from 0 or anywhere in between to 10K per month in the next 42 days. So if you aren't at that run rate yet, or you are not consistently creating 10K months, then register for this webinar, because it's going to be super, super powerful for you. All right. The second thing, we're going to, by the way, before I forget, we will drop that link in. So you guys just have to click on it, and you don't have to remember like, what was that? We'll drop the link in down under. That way, all you have to do is click and go register. Okay. The second thing that I see impeding or sucking the life out of a lot of business owners, and I'll go back to the word impeding them from creating the success that they're looking for in their business, is not having a clear message, clearly identifying what the transformation is that they affect for their person. I think across the board, this is, again, probably the second thing that I've tried to put these in some order of importance. But if you don't know exactly how you help your person, and you can't articulate it very quickly, and when I say articulate it, meaning, where does this messaging show up? Where do you use it? In all the places is the short answer. When you introduce yourself, when somebody lands on your website, when you show up in social media, wherever you're trying to market your business, is it clear to your person how you help them? And I really believe that most don't have this nailed. And I'll start with websites, because I think this is a huge, huge problem. And it's rooted in my own experience. So let me share this real quick. A couple of years ago, as some of you guys know, I guess it's been 3 or 4 now. Golly, time flies. But I had a business partner. We went our separate ways. It wasn't nasty divorce or anything. It was like he wanted to do his thing, I wanted to do my thing. So it was all amicable. It wasn't a nasty split or anything. But after that, I was like, I need to rebrand. I need to come out with something fresh. And so I started down this journey and trying to figure out what my new brand was going to look like. I spent, yes, I'm going to say it, $60,000, $60K with a branding company, a top tier branding company. And what came back was so laughable, y'all. So bad. I mean, it was not a representation of me at all. I was like, this is so bad. So I've since then I've laughed and said, well, that was, what the best $60,000 mistake I ever made, because it forced us internally to figure this out. So we went on this massive learning curve, like, read the books on clear messaging, how do you attract your person with messaging, we did the story brand thing, trying to get all of the components. And through that journey, we came up with what we call clear messaging framework. It's a framework that I believe is applicable to not just websites, but landing pages and sales pages. Our sales pages, well, we've got a landing page. I'll give you some stats. We've got a landing page that is converting at 69% because we've applied this clear messaging framework to it. We have our sales pages are converting at, before we were above industry standard. Industry standard is about 1 to 2. We were at 3 to 5 and we thought, okay, we're doing pretty good, compared to industry standard. But after we applied this clear messaging framework to our sales pages, we went from 30 to 50% sales on our sales pages. So we're like, we have this clear messaging stuff. There's something to this. And then we started applying it to what I call authority pages. Authority pages, a lot of times people think of authority in the context of page rank. That's not what I mean. An authority page is a clear representation on your website of what it is that you do and how you help someone. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples because I think seeing is understanding. And keep in mind, I really want you to understand, let me just play a 3-second little video for you guys before we do this, because I want you to understand you only have 3 seconds. So 3, 2, 1. All right. 3 seconds, y'all. When somebody lands on your website, you have 3 seconds for them to read your headline and decide whether or not you matter to them in the context. And then once they've decided that, okay, this person can help me and whatever it is that they're there for, then they're more likely to scroll down. They're more likely to see what else it is. How can they work with you? And that's a whole separate thing. But I'm going to give you a couple of examples. There's this one. This is the before. And in 3 seconds, I want you to, can you figure out what this website does in 3 seconds? I would say you probably can't. So how about this one? This was the after. Get the job you really want. Expert coaching to help you break the cycle of frustration for your job search. Schedule a free consultation. Super clear, right? So you've got this, not sure about that one, versus this, which is like, yeah, I understand this. And then this is the before, and 3 seconds again, 1001, 1002, 1003. Can you tell why this would matter to you? Let's end obesity together. And they start with their mission statement, like so bad, right? Versus this. Indulge without compromise, sumptuous foods for healthy living because great choices can still be sweet. By now. Super succinct, right? Is this like, oh my gosh, I see what you mean now, Kim. Here's another one. It's potty time, potty training toolkit. Well, if I'm trying to potty train a kid, I might be intrigued by that, like a potty training toolkit. But look at this. This is so fun. And does such a good job of literally moving somebody who's a parent who's like, yes, this is fun. I need this. These last two are product based, obviously. So an authority page is so powerful. And like I say, most people don't have one. And if you are looking at this through the lens of social, most of the time when we are, out there hustling on social media, doing all the things, we warm up our community, our audience, and, through a series of touch points, content pieces, right? We have blogs, we have social posts that we put out, we have videos and photos that we share and all the things. So when they get back to our website, they already feel like they know us. They have a know, like, and trust factor. We don't have to impress. We don't have to work as hard potentially in the social space if we're moving them from social to our website. But let me give you a couple of examples of why this is super important, whether you're using social or you're not. one, if you're using social to get more people to pay attention to you, to attract more people to you, then guess what, y'all? They're going to go check you out from day one. They're going to go look at your bio. They're going to go, if they're on Instagram, they're going to click on that link and they're going to go to your website. And if you don't impress them in 3 seconds or less and say in some capacity matter to them, then chances of them following you are probably not there. So that's one example. But another that I think is so misrepresented and nobody ever talks about is, what about all the people that are looking for you on the Google machine? And they find you, but in 3 seconds or less, you don't matter. So think about that person in that moment. They're searching for a solution that you offer. You don't have to warm them up on social media. They don't have to watch 10 of your videos or build a no like trust factor with you. They're looking for a solution to a problem that you offer, and yet you haven't clearly articulated that on your website. So they're gone. They've gone to your competition. So it's a huge problem. And so, that's again, is that the issue? Is that a problem that you feel like you have? If it is, it can be fixed. You just have to understand that you have the problem and then build that authority page. Okay. So the third thing, and this is, I think it probably, I won't say it's a problem. Swimming, I call it swimming in a sea of sameness. So depending on what your expertise is, or what your product is, or what you're selling, what your competition look like. I would bet you that you have a ton of it, because most of us do. There's, if you're a social media manager, there's a social media manager or a social media expert or strategist or consultant on every corner these days. If you're a Facebook ads guru, or if you're selling a weight loss product, there's so many people who have all different types of business models, different products, different services, but the reality is that they're, again, swimming in the sea of sameness. It's very difficult to make themselves stand out against their competition. That's why that authority page is so important. And from a messaging perspective, I think that's, if you can stand out from a messaging perspective, even if you're in the sea of sameness, you're probably going to rise to the top, simply because you've got clarity of messaging. People can quickly identify and say, yeah, that person is my person, because they're telling me exactly what I'm looking for. They're articulating exactly what I'm looking for. So the only other real way to step out of the sea of sameness is to have some sort of a unique value proposition. Everybody talks about this. It's like, well, what's your unique value proposition? But the reality is that's hard. It's a hard thing to distinguish for yourself. So, there's a, finding an opportunity or a problem or some new way of presenting the same thing. I'll give you a quick example. When I decided I was going to start the Authority Creator Consultant concept, I was like, well, being a content creator is nothing new, right? But how can I put a spin on that to where it is something new? It looks like it's something new. Naming it something new. It's just like, when Donald Miller came up with Story Brand, branding's not new. Stories are not new. He married the concept of two hot things and came up with Story Brand. That's exactly what I did with Authority Creator. So many people are chasing the wrong things from an authority perspective. They're creating the wrong things. And there's so much need for people to support those creators right now. So coming up with a new concept around and stepping out around something old, essentially, but stepping out with that new messaging can solve this problem, is my point. The fourth thing, and this is my biggest issue, and I'll just be totally transparent. And I'd love to hear from you guys as well. Shiny object syndrome is killing us. Okay. It is absolutely killing us. So if you hear somebody, and I've been part of this problem myself, from one, I have the problem. I'm aware of it. So sometimes my team, I either have to reel myself in, or my team has to Kim, come back to the light. They reel me back in. Everybody here knows that this is a problem for me. I know it, my team knows it, etc. So if you have this problem, trust me, you are not alone, but you have to face it. And every time you feel like that you're going down that road, you have to be capable or willing to nix that and stay focused on the things that are going to drive results for you. Because that's the reality, that's the nature of a shiny object. It's like it takes you off track. It's like rabbit or squirrel, whichever, and it takes you down a different road. Now, not all shiny objects are terrible, but they almost all deviate you from the things that matter. And so, if you're on Instagram or you're on Facebook or you're on Twitter or wherever you are, and you see something and you're like, "Ooh, this happens to me quite frequently." And as soon as if I click on something and I click somewhere else and I click somewhere else, and before I know it, I'm like down this rabbit hole, right? How many of you do that? Or somebody says, okay, well, that this strategy is really working for me. You need to do it because it's going to work for you too. And then you go into this, you buy the little course, the mini course, you buy the full-on course, whatever, to try to figure out how you're going to do this in your business. And then, 2 weeks later, you come up for air and you realize, well, I can't do these things. I'm not going to do these things. And in the meantime, you've wasted two weeks. These are just examples. I would bet you that the whole shiny object syndrome for most of us is a huge problem. So I'm just throwing this out there real quick because one, you need to understand you have the problem. You need to understand when you're going down this road and be willing to nip it in the bud quick. Or else it's going to continue to be a huge issue for you. And understanding, what the components are in your business that drive results is critical, I think, to staying on track. Fifth thing, this plays together too, by the way. I think this plays together with some of the others, focusing on all the things or the wrong things. So, I'll go back to some of the conversations I've had with other entrepreneurs over the last little bit that are interested in Authority Creator. And in most all of the cases, as we were digging into what were their pain points, what problems were they having or experiencing. And most of the time, what came back was, lack of focus on or lack of a plan to get them to where they wanted to go. So therefore they were trying to do all the things or they were doing them in the wrong order. So it's when it comes to having a successful business, we need a plan. If you don't have a plan, then it's very hard again to get to where you're going. And if you're out there and you feel like every day you're hustling, you don't know, you're just going from one thing to the next. It's like one alligator, you solve that problem, you're going to the next one, and there is no consistent plan. Then I just want to tell you, I've been there. I've built successful businesses operating like this. But again, having a plan has made my life so much easier, and having a focus to achieve that goal set, again, so much easier. So if you feel like you're focusing on all the things or that you don't even know what things to focus on, like I say, you're not alone, but you have to understand that you've got that problem. If you have that problem, then you have to circle back and say, okay, what do I need to be focused on? And where's my roadmap? Do I have a roadmap to get where I want? And if you don't, then what's that going to look like? Because it's going to be difficult. It's like, it's like getting in the car and saying you're going south. Okay, well, there's like how many destinations, right? And how much gas are you going to waste trying to get there because you're going in all the directions? So, really understanding what drives your business and it's going to get you where you need to go is critical. And then you have to focus on those things. Don't let the shiny objects come and intrude and ultimately get in the way of you doing the things that matter, essentially. And then the sixth thing is comparison with others. So I am a big proponent of doing market research. I mean, I'm not suggesting you don't do this, and that's usually on the front side of anything that you're thinking of doing, releasing or whatever. So you might if you're going to put a course out, or if you're going to create a service or whatever, what is your competition doing? How are they pricing it? All of that is really good. I'm not negating that. But this is what I want to talk to you about. What I see happening so frequently is what I call constant comparison. You'll see people in social media sharing their success story, and you're like, oh, I'm doing that same thing and I'm not getting that result. And so you beat yourself up. Or you see somebody going on a vacation and they're whooping it up because their business is super successful, and they're sharing all the positive things. And you're thinking, wow, my business is just like that. I'm doing the same exact things, but I'm not getting success. And that eats at you daily. Now, whether you acknowledge it or not, it gets in your head, y'all. It does. So if you are paying attention to your competition to the degree that it's getting you down, then stop. Seriously. You are the thing that makes your business unique, even in a sea of sameness, is you. And, I would argue that person that you see that is being successful is successful because they have really embraced their you-ness, if you will, and they're not out there comparing themselves to everybody every day. So there is no good that can come from constantly looking at other people's successes and measuring them against your own. It's a recipe for disaster. It will affect your mindset. It just runs you. Seriously. Don't do it. Don't pay attention to your competition. The only time that you really should be paying attention to your competition is at the front side of anything. Like if you're, looking to see what they're doing because you had this idea, and is anybody else doing it? Or, what are similar people pricing XYZ at? Those are value-based things. But paying attention on a daily basis to, somebody that's doing the same thing you're doing, stop. It will mess you up faster than anything else. Okay. So just want to make sure you heard that. Comparison is the enemy of all things, frankly. So, and then the seventh thing, and I think that the root of it, if I had to put a ranking system on things, if you don't sell your stuff, let me just put it this way. I think this is probably the easiest way to say this is, if you're not selling your stuff consistently, you don't have a business. You don't. You have to have a consistent way to bring in leads and sales. And I would say even on autopilot, because otherwise you're always chasing the next sale, and it's life sucking. And not just life sucking, but business sucking too. Because if you can't consistently sell your products or services, then it puts you in a very distinct disadvantage. And the lifeblood of any company is sales. I mean, that makes sense, right? And if you don't have them, then that means you got a problem, right? So having a consistent way to bring in leads and sales is really the lifeblood of any company. And if you don't have that, then you have to ask yourself, well, how do I get it? And then go after that. That's a shiny object that I would encourage you to see to, because while it's not always fun to figure that process out, it's the lifeblood of your company. And if you don't have it, you've probably got some major other issues. You probably got cash flow issues. You've got I call it feast or famine syndrome. In some cases, you might even have a business that's more of a hobby than a business. So again, I'm saying these things from a place of love because I want you to identify what's broke, what is sucking the life out of your business, and then how do you fix those things? Okay. And then I have a bonus one for you that I'm going to throw in. And when I first started my business 31 years ago, hard to believe it's been so long, there were no real resources. There was no masterminds, there was no coaching at that point. I learned how to code because I went to the bookstore, Barnes and Noble or somewhere, bought a coding book because there were no courses to buy, right? There was no YouTube videos. There was no blogs to read, things of that nature. Now we have information overload where we don't know who to tap into, who knows what. We're for all the resources that we have at our fingertips, we're more alone and siloed than we have ever been, I think, in the online space. And you get to a place where you are just inundated. You don't know which road to take. It's like you get to the end of, you get here and there's like, instead of there being two choices, there's like all these forks off and you're like, what do I do? Which way do I go? Which way, what's the best choice here for me? It's very difficult, I think, to do this on your own today. So there's knowing what you need to know. That's one component of it. But I think the other two is really having a community and a connection with people who are doing the same thing or trying to achieve the same thing. It makes your journey so much more enjoyable when you have somebody that gets you, who understands you, who is, helping you make better decisions, and then having that community around you to support you. So trying to do this stuff without support, I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot these days. It's very difficult when there's so many options out there to try to figure out the pieces and parts of business today. And I think that's one of the reasons I see so many people getting to a bad spot, where they're either not seeing success, or they're ready to throw in the towel, and I never want that, either one of those scenarios for anyone. So you kind of have some choices here. Okay, you can do nothing. If any of the things I shared with you today is like, I got that problem, even if you whisper it to yourself, it's okay. I mean, if you didn't feel like you shouting it to the world, I got these problems, then it's okay. But you have to acknowledge it yourself. You have to come clean with yourself. Which of these problems do you have, and how do you fix those problems? You can't fix what you don't know are broken, right? And you can't fix what you're not willing to fix either. So, if you heard some things today that was a little hard to hear and you're like, I've got that problem, you can step forward and find a solution to that. Or you can just do nothing. What's the definition of that? And I think it's the definition of insanity, is expecting a different result that, you're going to get the same result. So if you're not where you want to be right now, you can do nothing and stay where you are, or you can make a different decision and do something, do something that's going to take you to a better place. One of the things the very first thing I would suggest, if you said you heard something today that you're like, I've got that problem. One of the very first things that you can do in the something pile is register for this free webinar. It's totally free. I'm going to be talking about how you get to the first 10K months in a very short window of time, so that you have a rinse and repeat model in place. So we're dropping that in to below so that you guys will just be able to click on that link. I'm just going to go back and make sure. I think some of the questions Rhonda's already answered. And then I wanted to pick our winners for today. So I don't see any questions that weren't answered, but if anybody has a question or wants to acknowledge like, Kim, like I needed this today. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. That's not what I'm saying. No, I would like you to approach this through the lens of just being honest with where you and your business is, and saying, do I have these problems? And if I have these problems, then what's the solution? I presented some solutions to you. Definitely join the webinar. Be there so that you can get a different feel for how can I get to those 10K months. And then I want to give a shout out to our winners. Mark and Christine won the quick and easy ways to make social media content for non-designers. So guys, if you'll go over to kimgross.com/winner and share your details with us, and we'll get you a login and get you signed up for, or get you a login so you can get log in and get access to that course. I think you're going to get a ton of value from it. All right. Well, as always, guys, I appreciate you so much. Next week, I'm just trying to, let me see, hang on. Let me see if I can tell you off the top of my head who our special guest is next week. Oh, nope. Let's see. Oh, who is our special guest next week? But, oh, you know what? I'm glad I looked. Next week, we won't be here next week because we were supposed to be at a mastermind event next week. But the next week, we are going to be, well, actually, we may be given a sneak peek to our new authority creator on Monday, this coming Monday. So that might be something. I'm pretty sure, memory serves me, we're doing that. But the following week, we are going to have Diane Black. Diane is a doodler. Yes, she doodles and she teaches other people how to do it. So talk about a stress reliever too. I love what I learned from her. So it's going to be a different type of guest, but incredible story that she has. And I'm looking forward to having her on 2 weeks from now. And don't forget, guys, if you haven't registered for the live webinar, authoritycreator.online /0 to 10K. That's where we're going to get you. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I know your time's valuable. And when you spend some with me, I really, really appreciate you. So take care of yourselves. Stay safe. God bless. And we will see you next Monday, same time, same place.